how's it going? Come on back to the program. The idea of an XRP takeover in the US is no longer theoretical. Thus, you must now listen. That's happening at this very moment. What I'm referring about are government bills and the banking corridors that might activate a switch at any moment. It won't budge just yet, XRP, when it does. The American financial system is going to be redefined by it. Insiders are describing XRP as the next digital gold. Regulators are going bullish. And institutions are preparing themselves as if they know something monumental is about to happen, and I'm going to show you why. Believe me when I say that you will know why XRP's time has come, not someday, but right now after seeing this video. Now is the day. Come on, we can leave now. Acquiring the XRP Insiders Elite is a must if you intend to seize the opportunity presented by the impending financial revolution. You'll be the first to know about special XRP alerts, the mental frameworks used by the ultra-wealthy to create wealth that lasts generations, and the tactics employed by the top 1%. Plus, get access to all premium resources at your fingertips. The video description has it. Get 10% off with the coupon Millionaire. Everything changes at this precise instant, so we're starting here. XRP is going to be regarded as digital gold very soon. What was the catalyst? A fresh new USS measure that no one anticipated would really pass the Senate. Anyway, I've included it here. No rumors here. In contrast to cryptocurrency platforms like Twitter and Hopium, at this very moment, there is a genuine legislative pathway on Congress.gov that has the potential to include XRP in the CFTC's commodity classification. Give that some thought. Here we are discussing XRP, a cryptocurrency that has been the target of many attacks, misunderstandings, and battles, and which is now being classified legally alongside gold, oil, wheat, corn, and all of the other essential assets that power the American economy. This is the way the American administration communicates. Our interest in this asset is strong. Clean regulation is what we're after, and here's where we'd like it to be. Nothing less than a nuclear explosion occurs when that categorization takes effect. Immediately, the SEC security discussion is over. All of a sudden, years of doubt are gone. Out of nowhere, a green light so intense you could see it from Mars illuminates every single bank, payment business, fintech, and lagging institution. It is confidently listed on U.S. exchanges. A deluge of cash flows in. After almost a decade of development, enterprise money is now integrated with the Ripple rails. Ripple did not spend a decade integrating with banks and regulators out of boredom. You must understand, the largest liquidity flood of our lifetime was about to happen, and they were busy laying the pipes. The infrastructure, like a puzzle waiting for the last piece, will fall into place as soon as this bill is passed. For that reason, some argue that XRP is more than a cryptocurrency. It's a first, a digital commodity designed specifically for use in the American financial system. There is no hype. Design is it. So be it. Right now is the moment. As the internet is awash in arguments over bull and bear markets, insiders like Jake Claver are stating the truth, albeit in a very outlandish way. U.S. users can begin utilizing XRP immediately, present day. His statement was not an impromptu assumption. He outlined the precise rationale behind this. Beyond Bitcoin, XRP is the asset with the most transparency at this point. Today, authorities may employ XRP on the back end of the stock market with the DTCC if a crisis occurred, such as a liquidity shortage, shock to the exchange rate, or systemic instability. I am not making that up. No one outside of the enterprise infrastructure team would ever say something like that. Everyone paying attention should have felt their heart rate increase when Jake brought up the fact that the president of NASDAQ acknowledged they are beginning with distributed ledger technology to settle stock trades. Why? Because consider this. Blockchain technology is being considered by the world's largest stock exchanges as a means to settle transactions worth trillions of dollars. Compliance, licenses, partners, and financial corridors are all things that Ripple is well prepared for. U.S. adoption of XRP is unnecessary. In order to settle quickly, legally, and affordably, the United States must employ whatever system is capable of doing so. That is exactly why XRP was designed for that. Waiting, isn't it? It's done. The price of XRP will no longer act as a speculative asset once those institutional systems begin to use it. Jake provided a flawless explanation. There is no longer any volatility once actual volume begins to flow. A steady price is achieved. An increase of liquidity occurs. Additionally, XRP reaches a threshold where it can never go back to its current levels as enterprise settlement grows, regardless of the hoopla, thanks to mathematics. Volume is the reason. since it is used. That is why those on the inside are bringing up triple-digit XRP as if it were a technical necessity rather than a far-fetched goal. Now let's go ahead to Ripple's most recent RLUSD commercial. Rather than being an advertisement, it served as a signal. Ripple is entering the realm of constantly programmable currency with RLUSD. Built for enterprise automation and machine speed settlement, stablecoins are here to stay. Automatic payroll processing, value transfer across borders while you slept, instantaneous transfers of funds from corporate treasuries. Nothing here is fictitious. Yes, this is software. Even though most people missed it, this is what it is. While most of their rivals have failed miserably at introducing stablecoins, Ripple has done it again with an enterprise-grade stablecoin that is aligned with regulations. According to BCG, there might be $3 trillion worth of USD stablecoins in circulation worldwide by 2030. And who will be the successful issuers? Those who have enterprise infrastructure, are transparent, and practice compliance. Ripple is perfectly suited. But things really start to heat up from here on out. Paribu, an exchange based in Turkey, has taken a surprising move by acquiring CoinMena, a platform that is among the most strictly regulated enterprise-level offerings in the Middle East. Licenses for CoinMena can be found in two of the world's most stringent regulatory environments, Dubai and Bahrain. Plus, you won't believe this. Ripple is already one of their partners, and RLUSD is already linked to them. With this transaction, RLUSD immediately gains an advantage over USTD and USCD. Across the Middle East, a region known for its strong fintech industry, there is a fully compliant stablecoin corridor that spans multiple jurisdictions. Everyone is surprised by this portion. Crypto consumers aren't the target audience for Ripple's next development. A financial system is what Ripple is aiming to construct on behalf of government coffers for financial institutions. Regarding governments, one such step before a worldwide implementation is a compliant corridor connecting Dubai and Bahrain. It's the infrastructure phase when nothing seems to be happening on the surface, but below the surface, things are moving along at a rate that the public can't keep up with. The United States has just done something that virtually no one saw coming, thrusting itself squarely into the limelight. A bill pertaining to Bitcoin has surfaced on congress.gov. Something like that doesn't just get uploaded. If major secrets are being revealed behind the scenes, then crypto classification bills of this magnitude would never be introduced. Soon, there will be rules. Clarity about Bitcoin quickly spreads. Constantly, it spreads. Furthermore, XRP is among the few assets that are perfectly positioned for institutional adoption once the US turns it on. Big business is getting very bullish, and they aren't keeping quiet about it anymore. They are preparing themselves for the next financial era, making bold forecasts and signaling exactly where they believe this entire ecosystem is heading. They are also stepping out in the open. The CEO of Exodus is not joking when he predicts that Bitcoin will reach $200,000 by 2026. That individual has insight into regulatory momentum, institutional demand, on-chain flows, custody behavior, corporate accumulation, and more. If they aren't seeing a change happening behind the scenes, high-level individuals won't make public predictions like that. His reasoning is worth your full attention. He brings up the fact that Bitcoin's market cap is currently at around $1.8 trillion and that gold's is over $18 trillion. Just equal the value of gold is a tenfold increase from now. However, the way he presents information is crucial. Now is the moment for the U.S. economy, monetary policy, and political incentives to all come together. Reducing rates is the expected move from the Fed. The stimulus program is once again being discussed. A number of states are contemplating following Texas's lead and adding Bitcoin to their reserves. This is not a unique incident. As policy signals, they have an impact on any cryptocurrencies, including XRP, that are included on the regulatory lineup alongside Bitcoin. Institutions and authorities will undoubtedly look for another compatible asset for settlement, interoperability, and cross-border function if Bitcoin is legitimized at a national level. Plus, XRP has all the features that authorities are looking for: transparency, enterprise-grade infrastructure, and the capacity to transfer value at a rate no other cryptocurrency can match. You need the asset that settles the tracks connecting systems if your digital economy is going to thrive. Savings can be kept in Bitcoin. That's something XRP can handle. This is why those on the inside know that these two assets aren't competing. Together, they form the ideal basis for a contemporary monetary system. Check out Wall Street now. To our knowledge, this is the crypto industry's most brazen example of institutional repositioning. It is no secret that Bitcoin ETFs are the main source of income for BlackRock. Let that sink in. Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, ETFs, are the current growth engine for the world's largest asset manager, which oversees more than $10 trillion. You can tell where the money is flowing just by looking at that. However, it grows much larger. Countries are purchasing Bitcoin, Larry Fink concedes. Give that some thought. The most reliable macro signal you can receive is the fact that sovereign entities are amassing Bitcoin. When nations begin to pile on, institutions soon follow, retailers' hearts sink as panic sets in. The early complying assets will go boom when retail eventually comes. However, it continues beyond BlackRock. Vanguard, infamously anti-crypto for years, now secretly provides investors with access to Bitcoin ETFs. JP Morgan, after years of anti-crypto rhetoric, is now offering products linked to BlackRock's IBIT. For what reason would the world's most frugal asset manager suddenly permit cryptocurrency exposure? Reason being, they have a good idea of where money is going to change hands. For the simple reason that they can see the regulation handwriting, for fear of being unprepared when digital assets replace traditional financial assets, that is. Additionally, Bank of America has suggested allocating 4% of your portfolio to Bitcoin against gold, absent from bonds. In the case of Bitcoin, it was also announced that retirement account King Charles Schwab will be releasing their own Bitcoin ETF in early 2026. Only when a whole sector is getting ready for a new age of financial infrastructure does this kind of change occur. Do not forget that once they accept Bitcoin, they will grow. Bitcoin is merely the entrance. In the second Ripple and XRP go through it, a lot of money is coming in from all across the world. While Texas spent $10 million for its reserve, Abu Dhabi spent more than $500 million on BlackRock's Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. Before the federal government gets involved, adoption is happening at the state level. That's the current state of affairs. In the midst of all this activity, the Federal Reserve halted quantitative tightening and is almost certainly getting ready to lower interest rates. Risk assets are propelled to new heights by rate reduction. Historically, as liquidity improves, cryptocurrency prices explode. At this very moment, there is every indication that liquidity will be increasing. The ignition point is actually what most people refer to as the top. As soon as Bitcoin's institutional phase ends, the rotation will start. Assets that have reached maturity are not pursued by institutions. They move on to the next compliant, high-yield asset that serves a practical use in the real world. With the regulatory events occurring simultaneously, XRP is in an ideal position for that rotation. Now we reach an even more significant point. The White House has projected a 4% increase in the economy by the beginning of 2026. God, that's a ridiculously high amount. Unless lawmakers are gearing up for massive fiscal stimulus, you will not hear 4% growth estimates. Tax cuts, incentives, investment booms, and reinvestment at home, markets rise sharply when GDP quickens. Additionally, the U.S. has never witnessed anything like a parabolic environment when markets surge during a time of crypto regulatory certainty. Add to that the fact that stablecoins are taking over the world. Ripple is opening up new RLUSD corridors. Compliant authorities are green-lighting Ripple-affiliated partners, and institutions are stockpiling cryptocurrency as if for a major change. There is consensus across all of the pieces. As the world's financial institutions are ready to adopt a new digital standard, assets situated within that standard are expected to witness unprecedented demand. Yet this is the bit that the majority of people fail to notice. There is a connection between all of these occurrences. They're occurring one after the other. Enhanced cross-border settlement, improved regulation of Bitcoin and stablecoins, digital commodity classification, and enterprise blockchain integration. Ripple has spent over 10 years getting ready for this very scenario. They constructed the tools long before anyone else recognized their importance. Now that Bitcoin is being scrutinized by regulators, XRP is poised to follow as the next cog in the wheel, serving as a liquidity link between the old and new systems. Banks will still need them. An instrument for financial institutions, protected from authorities, a foundation for regulators. Those that have a firm grasp on how all these systems work together will be in the best position to capitalize when the switch is turned on. Money advice is not what this is. The United States is only now coming to terms with the fact that whomever owns the settlement layer of global value transfer controls the future of global banking, while every major economy is secretly picking with whose digital assets to align. In order to preserve its dominance, the United States depended only on the dollar for many decades. However, everything has changed. There are new fronts in the fight for speed, programmability, quick settlement, and international interoperability. Even though Asia, Europe, and the Middle East have all jumped on the blockchain-based settlement bandwagon, the United States is picking up the pace because it can't afford to lag behind. Here is where XRP plays a role that few people understand. There is no requirement for the United States to construct a brand new settlement layer. Ripple has the code for it. Everything is in order. It has pre-existing connections to financial institutions, payment gateways, exchanges, authorities, liquidity providers, and international networks. Ripple stands out among cryptocurrency networks due to its architecture, which prioritizes enterprise-scale stability, regulatory integration, and throughput. This is no trinket, a system it is. Furthermore, instability, ambiguity, and experimental technology are not desirable qualities in a settlement layer for a government or large organization. So what they really want is something that has been tried and true for at least 10 years, something that pulled through the regulatory maze, something which already has international roots operational. That's XRP. Things are about to get interesting from here. The story of the digital dollar will continue. However, a CBDC is not required to utilize blockchain settlement, which is something that the majority of people are unaware of. A full CBDC is actually not wanted by most countries. Stablecoins that are regulated, monitored, and interoperable are what they desire. At the same time as stablecoin rails are being set up globally, Ripple's RLUSD is making its debut in the market. Additionally, no other stablecoin issuer possesses what Ripple does. Integrated business processes at the financial institution level. That is the significance of the Paribu coin acquisition. It did more than simply open up new legal frameworks for RLUSD. It paved the way for Ripple to include stablecoins, settlement flows, and on-off ramps into its existing regulatory infrastructure. This is how the infrastructure of global settlements is constructed. The world is subtly being prepared for a switch flip through licensing, corridors, alliances, and enterprise-grade rails, rather than through hype. Insiders like Jake, as well as executives from Ripple and other industry heavyweights, are stressing this same issue for precisely this reason. XRP has already begun trading. As of now, XRP cannot be activated. The difference is enormous. The system is considered activated if it begins to function the moment regulatory clarity is achieved. Comprehensive integrations that last multiple years are unnecessary for banks. Markets shouldn't panic. Rebuilding is unnecessary for institutions. Everything needed to run the system is already there. This is why the categorization of bills in the Senate is important. For that reason, CFTC supervision is important. Therefore, clarity is the driving force, not the building. Nothing is finished, though. Why? Because changes at the macroeconomic level reflect those at the institutional and regulatory levels. A change in political and economic focus from defense to offense is shown by the White House's prediction of 4% growth in 2026. Expansion, stimulus, infrastructure spending, tax incentives, investment in innovation, and financial system modernization are all actions that governments do when they expect robust growth. And digital railroads are a part of upgrading. Blockchain settlement is what it means. Payments can be made in real time. It spells the end of inefficient, antiquated legacy systems. Furthermore, modernization-enabling assets experience a spike when it becomes a national plan. Institutions are buying up on Bitcoin for that reason. Banks are opening the gates for that reason. Wall Street is preparing for a multi-year run because of this. Capital will flow into assets with a purpose, infrastructure, and regulatory blessing once Bitcoin's institutional expansion is complete, the very domain where XRP is dominant. Already, the pattern of rotation is taking shape. The pattern emerges in the way institutions are behaving. They are pouring money into Bitcoin, then exchange-traded funds, ETFs, regulated alternative assets, altassets, stablecoin rails, and last, enterprise integrations. Retail psychology isn't what this is. Formalized capital rotation is this. Additionally, XRP is situated squarely in the middle of that rotation. It is the digital commodity category, the interoperability layer, the settlement asset, and the bridge asset that is awaiting U.S. endorsement. A settlement layer based on blockchain technology that is independent of governments, corporations, and speculation is necessary for the United States, since it is impartial, decentralized, efficient, and has extensive integration with compliant financial partners. XRP is an ideal fit. Now think about something that is even more crucial: the time. The 2 years of 2025 and 2026 are likely to have the greatest impact on the modern financial sector. Banks are loosening their monetary policies. You have plans for stimulus funding. Some jurisdictions have begun to embrace digital assets. Bills are introduced by members of Congress. The world's legal systems are coming together. Institutions are also making purchases as if they were leading up to a declaration. Everything falls into place when you make these connections. No one is getting ready for a sluggish decade. An explosive one is being planned. The ascent of Bitcoin is merely the initial phase. Structured rotation is the second step. Stage 3 involves adoption made possible by regulations. Integration of settlements across the world is the last phase. At each level, the function of XRP is clarified. The link between traditional banking and the digital age is this. That is why digital gold with utility is the term used by insiders. Why? Because it's useful for more than just storing value. The value is changed. The asset with the greatest potential to change its value will emerge victorious in the future monetary system. Picture a U.S. financial system supported by fast settlement. Worldwide wire transfers are available at all times. Assets held by corporate treasuries are transferred on-chain. Within seconds, deals are cleared on global exchanges. There are regulated rails that stablecoins run on. Institutions are getting ready for this system. Regulators are aiming their designs toward this system. Additionally, Ripple has already constructed this mechanism. When all the pieces fall into place, functional digital assets will form the new era's backbone. One of the central assets is XRP. What follows as a result of keeping tabs on the news, regulatory changes, institutional posture, and worldwide expansion is evident. This is the last stage of setup. After this comes the activation stage. Whoever pays close attention, makes preparations, studies the indications, and gains an early understanding of this change will be in the best position to reap its benefits. Such an opportunity does not arise frequently. It marks the start of a long-awaited shift in the financial sector. Now is the time to take your relationship with the XRP Insiders elite to the next level if you are truly committed to riding the wave of that change. Gain complete access to premium research and tactics utilized by the top 1% elite, exclusive insider alerts, weekly insights, and a millionaire mindset. Use the code MILLIONAIRE to get 10% off, and you'll find all the unlock codes in the video description below.